Hello, welcome back to Movies on Movies, another episode as part of Asian Cinema Season 2017. Today I posted a review of In the Mood for Love as part of the Epic Film Challenge, and I decided to check out the documentary on the Blu-ray of In the Mood for Love, which is called At In the Mood for Love. You know, at, like the little A with the thing. You can tell that the documentary was made in the early 2000s with the influence of the email character that has become such an integral part of all of our keyboards around the world. At In the Mood for Love, I believe Kar-wai put it together. In the credits it said written and directed by Kar-wai, even though there's nothing to write as far as the documentary is concerned. And I'm not sure if maybe that was just crediting him as being the writer and director of the film. But either way, it's a 52-minute piece that looks into the making of In the Mood for Love, which I enjoyed very much. And as I said in my review, which I did yesterday, obviously I'm posting this on the same day as the actual review, like I said, even now, a day afterwards, I do feel like I enjoy it more thinking about it. And maybe that's a quality that Kar-wai's films have, is that you need time to kind of digest them and think about them. And I was editing the review of the film, and using some images and just looking at how beautiful and how well composed the images were, just the screenshots I was using for the review. I'm thinking, wow, that was a great shot. And sometimes when a film is so well made, as far as the cinematography is concerned, you do kind of almost take it for granted, and you don't appreciate every single shot, if every single shot is as great as it is in this film. Anyway, the documentary itself, which I'll focus on more to begin with before I branch off into anything else I might want to say about the film and add that I didn't say in the review, it follows the comments of the director, Kar-wai, the actress who plays the lead female character, Maggie Cheng, or Chung, I'm not too sure, we'll just call her Maggie, and the actor who played the lead male character in the film, and I forget the actor's name. And they talk about their feelings on making the film, and it also intersperses a lot of film clips, some which in my opinion drag on a little bit too long. I understand it though, it's the nature of the beast when you're making a documentary on the making of a film. You want to kind of put clips in to illustrate what the film was about, but when you watch a film and then the making of straight away, you don't want to be spending 2 minutes watching a clip from the film again. Or at least, in this case, this is a documentary from 2001, so it's 4:3, it's square, it's standard definition. The actual film clips are kind of boxed in, even smaller with the widescreen and kind of boxed in like that. It's low quality. If we were looking at film clips that were from the Blu-ray high definition, it would be more enjoyable, I think, as someone who's kind of a HD snob at this point. And we have deleted scenes as well, which I believe are also present on the Blu-ray on their own, but they kind of get thrown in there. And it was interesting to watch the behind-the-scenes snippets they have of them filming things, but also just these kind of different pieces of the relationship between the two main characters in the film, where it's played more as a comedy, where they get this hotel room and they're cooking and the fire's going up and they're like, oh, and it's like this almost goofball kind of comedy, and then they're singing an opera thing together and they're doing a little dance and stuff, and it's almost like something out of a completely different film. I can see why that was removed. And the actors talk about how initially this was more of a steamy movie, there was more passion in there, and then that was scaled back, as I said in my review. And Kar-wai, I mean, he literally did take 15 months to make the film. I wasn't sure if that was a piece of trivia on the internet that was kind of blown out of proportion. Maybe it took 15 months from pre-production, production, and post-production, but no, it literally took 15 months for them to film the entire thing. There was a bit of a hurdle to jump when they were making the film because Kar-wai doesn't shoot with scripts, or at least he didn't with this film. And the authorities, I guess, the people who were funding the film, I guess, they wanted to see a script, and when they couldn't see one because there wasn't one, he had to move to a different country. He had to go to Thailand to finish it. So there's lots of kind of, again, like I said, hurdles in the making of this film. They don't really go into that in the documentary, but I liked hearing from the actors, particularly Maggie Chung, who talks a lot about her approach to acting and how she feels that at that point when she made In the Mood for Love, she'd matured quite a bit as an actress, and also that she felt really restrained by the character, and in particular the dresses she had to wear with the stiff collars, because she couldn't move her neck very much, and she just felt so kind of locked into position, and she didn't feel very natural, and she felt like she wasn't really doing very well when she first started acting in the film. And she felt like the more that time passed, the more that she felt comfortable, the more that she felt confident in her acting. And she feels like if the film hadn't taken 15 months to make, then, you know, she thinks that the performance wouldn't have been as good. And I think she's great in the film, so I think that's a good thing. She also talks about something which I think is really cool, because I think about this a lot. She talks about how at one point she was kind of like, I need to make film after film after film. I can't spend 15 months making one film when I could be making 3 in that same span of time. But by the time she got to make In the Mood for Love, she realized that, well, no, because this is something special. This is something that's going to live on. And that's more important than making more movies. It's about, again, it's a very simple ideology of quality over quantity, but she really cared about that idea of 50 years in the future people will still be able to see this film and experience it. And we're only like, 17 years after the film came out, but I do think this is a film that will go on to reward me with repeat reviewings and people who haven't seen it at all when they see it for the first time. I never mentioned in my review that this film was set in the 60s and how wonderfully realized that aesthetic is, from the hairstyles to the costume design to the production design. And also Kar-wai talks in this documentary about how he feels like in the 60s when he grew up that there was much more of an open society, and that's kind of why the two main characters live in this kind of apartment block, and the two landlords' families are always kind of in and out, going through the rooms and stuff, and there's such a free-flowing feeling to it, because he feels like that's what society was like at that time in the 60s in China and Hong Kong. And so he tried to kind of capture that in the film. It wasn't this idea of, okay, neighbors are nosy, it was the idea of, back in those days, people were just more open and things were safer, and we'd leave the door open, we'd go into the neighbor's house and stuff, but now we don't. We don't know who our neighbors are, And I think that's very true, not just over there obviously, but I think in general. And I definitely get that from, growing up over the past, almost 30 years now at this point in my life. So that is something that I understand as well. One of the more interesting aspects of the documentary is when the actors are talking about how Kar-wai works as a director, where he won't really tell them what's going on. And Maggie Cheng, she really struggled with this because she would ask him and he wouldn't really tell her anything about the bigger picture of the film and her character. And the lead actor said that you very much have to try and figure it out for yourself, which can be kind of demanding but also has a sense of freedom to it. And he found making the film to be very challenging in terms of doing these scenes where he has to be very emotionally restrained so much, and there's these intense scenes to play, and obviously the film was shot over a very long period of time. And also the director, he talks about how kind of free-flowing he is with ideas and ways to shoot scenes, and when he gets there he'll kind of have ideas and kind of just go with them basically. And so much like I kind of suspected, there is this free-flowing element to the way that he films his movies, at least at that point. And there's a scene where the lead actress, she's the character, is just sitting in the empty hotel room and crying very silently. And this is something that she just suggested. She said, can I just do a scene where I sit down and cry? And she says that she was actually trying to do this this crying that happens to her sometimes in real life, where the tears just keep flowing and flowing and flowing, and she was trying to see if she could do it, but she just couldn't. But still, the scene of her kind of silently crying was one that I thought was a really powerful moment in the film, and it's something the actress was like, hey, can I do this? And the director's like, okay, let's do it, and that was her last shot on the film. So it feels like there's a collaborative feeling to it, and, I don't know, I'm not sure. I mean, everyone's different when they make films, but it seems like from some of the Chinese directors that I've kind of watched films of and looked into their interviews and them talking about making films, it seems like a lot of Chinese directors don't work with scripts very often. I wonder if it's part of the, I don't know, just the way that filmmaking is in China, or whether it's just those few instances of directors I've seen. One of them was Johnny To. Talks about he doesn't use a script when he makes films, and so I just find that really intriguing, kind of almost making up as you go along. And I'm not sure, it doesn't really delve into real detail in terms of the planning of the thing, but there are some interesting tidbits in the film, the documentary on the making of the film, how the character who was the workmate of the lead male character, again, I'm so bad with the names, I'm sorry, but the guy who me and Connie were laughing at because of the way he spoke, at the end of every sentence, he wasn't an actor, he was the set decorator. You see him hanging a clock up from one of the scenes in the film. And we see this great behind-the-scenes footage of the director kind of directing him, and he's like getting all stressed out about doing his lines and stuff, and he's just like, oh, And so he says in the interview, he's like, yeah, it's interesting acting, but I think it's something I can easily put away and not do again. So that was really cool, because I thought he was really good in the film, and he just turned out to be, and that's, I think, the sign of a great director. You can take someone who isn't really a professional actor and kind of direct them to do what you want on screen and for it to come off as believable. Although maybe for Chinese people he came across as really over the top or hammy or not believable, but we won't know that because we don't speak Chinese. Anyway, it was really good, and it ends with this montage of the two lead actors and the director going on this kind of international world tour, kind of showing the film in pretty much every country you can imagine, like in America and in Europe, around Asia, but there's no real actual snippets of them talking about the films. You just see them kind of waving at the crowd and kind of bowing, and you know, in cars on travel and stuff like that. So it's just this kind of montage to end the documentary. Overall, as a making of, it was pretty good. Not too insightful, not super kind of detailed, but if you're a fan of the film, it's definitely worth watching, even if there are a couple of those clips that drag on a bit too long when there's nothing really new being added and brought to the table, as far as you're sat there waiting to be given these details about the make of the film, and it's just showing you an extended clip. There are not too many moments of that, and there are some cool details there that I enjoyed listening to. A couple more of the actors get interviewed as well, so it's a good little piece and definitely worth watching if you can get it. I've tried kind of looking online to see like if it was directed by Kar-wai himself, but the only way that I've been able to find any information about the film is in the reviews of the Blu-ray. It seems to be the only place that has any record. Maybe on Chinese websites it's kind of, maybe it's logged there as a documentary, I don't know. But yeah, it came out in 2001 and it's called In the Mood for Love. So I do recommend it if you're a fan of the film. And again, I feel like I could talk more about it, and it will be one to go back to again and again and get more out of each time, I think. But you know, it just is what it is. And after watching it, still only 24 hours removed, I feel like there's a lot more that I can get out of it with time. And I think there's some more stuff on the Blu-ray I could check out as well. What do we have? There's must be a Tony Raines piece on there. Yeah, we go. 2 interviews with the critic Tony Raines, which I'm sure will be really enlightening and give me a new perspective on the film, much like his commentary on Chungking Express did. So that'll come in time, but you can't rush these things sometimes. And there we go. That's my thoughts on the making of documentary for In the Mood for Love. Pretty good. Worth checking out if you really like the film. Otherwise, not that essential. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.